Hi everyone, how are you doing? My name is Vidi. I'm from Israel. I was invited by April to speak uh, about a year in review in Asia from the Israeli side of things. Before I start, I have to say that I am not a producer and I am not a festival owner. I am a musician. I work in the rock field, in the metal field, the experimental music, and stuff that are more left field and niche. This is my world. So I will share my experience from the last year with you. But maybe some producers or festival owners will be able to shed a better light about everything that's going on here. Me and April met through the digital version of KMC Osaka this year in September, and we were my band. We is my band. I have a few bands. One is Subterranean Masquerade, and one is Gun Down Horses. Gun Down Horses played in the digital version of KMC Osaka this September, and we were very thrilled about it because it's very seldom that Israeli musicians actually play in the Asian field. This was the first time ever that we did an Asian event. We were very excited about it. The reason, I think, mainly is that Israel geographically is closer to Europe and the flights are cheaper. So once you're an unsigned artist, you can travel easier that way. But I want to start with something pretty optimistic. So we have lately, the last half a year, we have a lot of new normalization agreements and peace agreements with different countries here. One of them is the Emirates. And a wonderful thing that we hope that will change is that actually now Israelis can travel to Asia easier and with shorter time. So if going to India was something like 11, 13 hours flight, now it's 5 hours. And that's very important because now that the European borders are closed to musicians, we cannot travel, and most of our work was in Europe. So now we're kind of hoping that things will change and we can start looking towards the east and also towards Arabic-speaking countries, which is very moving and make us very hopeful. So, but let me start in the beginning of the year. In the beginning of the year, Gun Down Horses were playing in Austria in February, and when we got back, we were one of the first flights that got locked down. So this year, right now, we are on the third lockdown. We started 21 with another lockdown. It's going to be quite long this time, I think until the end of the month at least. And personally, I have been on personal isolation 5 times. So it's more than 50 days out of the year that I've been at home. And when I was not locked down on personal isolation, the country was most of the time locked down. We had problems getting to studios. We had problems having rehearsals. It was not allowed. We kind of did it anyway. The mentality is, going to the pharmacy, buying some medicine, and then if a cop stops you, then you say that you are on your way home while you're actually on the way to the studio, because show must go on. We wanted to work. our tours in Europe got canceled for all of my bands, and we had to figure out some ways to continue. The ways that we were going for was to change the band mentality from making an album, going on the road, making an album, going on the road. We were thinking on actually expanding our musical horizons into different industries, such as television, such as computer games, and mostly working on different cooperations with artists from all over the world, and using this year to create a ridiculous amount of music, recorded music, to use for the next 2 years ahead. So maybe it sounds strange, but instead of doing a once a year and a half kind of an album, we just wrote a bunch of them at once, and we started working on different projects, different musical endeavors, and the last year has been filled with cooperations. Some of them are not out yet, most of them are not out yet, but one of the biggest things that we managed to do is to get some of our music into a new computer game called The Birdcage, which will be out, I think, in a few months, and writing music for a film, which was very, very cool. The idea was to think as a band and to create something new using our own experience into filmmaking. When it came to shows, about live stream shows, there is a big argument, especially in the DIY movements and especially in the underground, because in Israel we don't have, there's a big niche, there's a lot of people doing a lot of cool things, weird stuff. My own city, Haifa, is expert of punk bands. We have tons of punk bands, and there's a lot of discussion about whether artists should or should not play live stream. This year, the only live stream we made was for KMC, and with Subterranean Masquerade, we headlined a German festival called Prog Space Festival for Progressive Metal and Rock. But these were the only ones, because we felt that we do not have the facilities or enough money to create a live stream experience which will be in the standard of what we think should be a good concert. And that's a big thing, because no one is a movie director, and we are musicians. The visual field is less our strength. So some musicians in Israel say, again, the DIY, and again from my experience and my friend in the scene that I belong to, some people say that no one should play the live stream. The idea behind it is that if you play the live stream, then you encourage people to start consuming their culture through videos and not going to the shows. So for example, if there's a company, and the company realizes that they don't need to bring their workers to an office, but they can put the workers at home and keep on working, then suddenly they start thinking, maybe I don't need the office anymore. And that was the idea behind not playing live streams. or objecting to it. So not giving excuses for people to adapt to a reality where culture is being consumed via only social networks, digital social networks. The other people say, no, you should do as much as possible of that. You need to have a strong, serious digital presence, because you never know when it's going to end. So you can put a song out and start working with it and perform with it, and it can be from your own living room, and it'll be very personal. And usually the people that are doing that are either from the indie scene and the folk scene and the alternative pop scene, and very few are doing it from the rock and metal scene because of sound, because of the budget of the production. And in the beginning, in the national TV, we had the big artists performing in the evenings. They took some clubs in Tel Aviv and they filmed some shows over there. But that was only for the ones that are already what is called A-lists. And so if you're not mainstream, you don't really have where to go. You need to be more and more and more creative. I'm sorry, the ambulance. I'll stop for a second. So the idea behind doing as much live streams as possible was to get in touch with your audience, and because everybody are at home right now, then you can get to more people. There is more free time. And so what we were doing, we were not doing a lot of live streams, but we got, especially with Subterranean Masquerade, we just signed with Sensory Records. It's an American label for progressive rock. We just went and enlarged our digital audience as much as possible, working on contents that are all towards come to our tours when the tours are coming back. Because personally, we feel that this is where we do our best job. So maybe other people decide to not perform at all anymore because they discovered that it doesn't work for them, and working from home and sending their music to more and more people is better for them without playing live. We do not get grants here. Culture was always, at least the last 15 years, one of the last things that the government here takes care of, and that's the way it is. So when you're working on something, personally, I didn't feel such a huge loss because I'm not an A-list artist. I guess that the people that are very much mainstream really felt the loss of money. Here we just felt like we have to keep on going and emphasize our guerrilla abilities. So the more DIY, the better. The last thing that I want to talk about is just to give a tip for people out there, not just a year in review thing. I was talking before about publishing when I talked about we were trying to get into music for TV, music for computer games, and I wanted to tell you, personally I'm not working with them, but I have a few friends that are working with them and having a really good time. An Israeli company called Artlist, and what they do is that they create a very big catalog of of artists from all over the world, and they sell it directly to Netflix and HBO and organizations such as these. And it's pretty cool to see that you can send your music, and if you are accepted, then you are being paid. And that's really, really great. So you guys can check wherever you are, you can check Artlist. There are more companies in that kind of style. It's just an Israeli one that lately more and more artists are talking about because they cannot perform, so they start using this platform for publishing their music. I guess that's it. I guess very short. This is what I have to say about the last year. Lots of music in the studio, not at all music live. We are working right now on booking some shows, and it seems that now with the vaccination in Israel, because everybody gets vaccinated here, that there will be something that is called green passports. I'm not sure I like it, but this is how it's going to go. Green passports, and if you are vaccinated, you can start going to shows or play shows or travel the world. And for Europe, it seems like the shows, the tours for us is going to be back only around 22 for bands in our size. And we really, really hope, because Europe got closed and we started thinking about other ways to go, such as music publishing, we also think about different geographies. And Asia now, with the normalization agreements and easier and cheaper flights, is one of the places that we are looking ahead. And I really invite people from Asia to check out Israeli music, to check out Israeli festivals, and generally the scene here is very welcoming for different cultures and very welcoming for underground, and you are really invited to get in touch, and let's meet each other and let's have fun. Thank you, April, for having me, and I hope I shed some light on what's going on here. Have a great forever internet, and let's all be safe and healthy. Goodbye.